It is another edition of the Agricultural Biotechnology Program, Agribiotech, where we look at the significance of biotechnology to agricultural development in Nigeria. I am Lara Afolayan. The Bacillus thuringiensis, or Bt gene, is a common soil bacterium around the world. Some approved crops fortified with the Bt gene around the world include the Bt maize and the Bt cotton, which is used and consumed in some developed nations and even South Africa. This Bt gene has now been infused into the cowpea plant to fight the Maruca pod borer, an insect pest that preys upon cowpea plants in many African countries, including Nigeria. This variety of beans has already been approved for environmental release in Nigeria and is now awaiting approval for commercial release. Though the confined field trials have ended in Nigeria, on the program today, we shall be involved in some flashback by taking you to one of the confined field trial sites for the Bt cowpea, which was in Minjibir, Kano, to see the Bt cowpea's effectiveness in controlling the Maruca pest. But first, we bring to you our What's New segment. The Nigerian Senate has concurred the bill passed by the House of Representatives for the amendment of the National Biosafety Management Act 2015. The Act's amendment is aimed at enlarging the scope of the application of biotechnology as well as the inclusion of evolving aspects of the application of the technology. This includes gene editing, gene drive, and synthetic biology to prevent any adverse effect on human health and the environment. A one-day public hearing on the amendment, which held earlier this year at the National Assembly, brought together stakeholders in Nigeria's biotechnology industry, including scientists, policymakers, civil society organizations, and the general public. The bill is expected to be signed by the executive soon. Minister for Science and Technology Ogbonnaya Onu says improved value addition in honey production will increase its export value. He also adds that findings of the nation's research institutes should be better harnessed to solve developmental challenges. Mr. Onu says the country's research institutes should have a national focus and address matters of national interest, while advising that products from research institutes' discoveries be commercialized. Welcome back. As I said at the beginning of the program, we shall be visiting one of the confined field trials used for the Bt cowpea trial in Minjibir, Kano, where field trials were carried out on preventing the Maruca pod borer from destroying bean crops ahead of their approval for environmental release earlier this year. The confined field trial site for the Bt cowpea in Minjibir, Kano State. Confined field trials for the Bt cowpea variety have been held here for several years by the Institute for Agricultural Research of the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. The Bt cowpea is cowpea infused with the Bacillus thuringiensis gene, a common soil bacteria to fight the Maruca pest or pod borer, which is a major threat to cowpea or beans farming in this part of the world.
We started the experiment far back 9 years back. First of all, we started conducting the experiment in Zaria for 3 years inside a net. We plant and then put a net to cover it because we are going to introduce Maruca on the plant. The net will serve as a check so that the Maruca will not go out and then destroy other people's farm. So we put the experiment inside net and then bombard each plant with Maruca so that we can test the performance of that GM with the non-GM. At that time, we started with 20 larvae per plant. So we did that for 3 years in Zaria, after which we got the result and we decided to expand it to the multi-location, Zamfara, Kano, and Zaria, where we are trying to screen the number of sprays for the GM and non-GM. Our health, if you said you are going to spray, continue to spray with insecticide, most of our people doesn't know how to even mix the insecticide. They don't have protective wares. So we have a lot of incidents of health problem with those people who are spraying. So we are trying to encourage spraying by producing this GM crop. If you have it, you can spray 1 or 2 times. It reduces the cost of buying the chemicals, and then it can even reduce the health risk.
The managers of this facility say the BT cowpea and the conventional varieties were planted side by side and the results have been positive.
Actually, I'm telling you confidently, this GM crop is very resistant to Maruca. It resists. Maruca doesn't harm it at all. Because when we put 20 larvae on the plant, you will just see them. Today you put it, tomorrow you just see the larvae. They are just like that, almost dead, half dead. They will not feed on the plant. But if you look at the other one that we are comparing, you will see the Maruca. You will not even see them. They have already bore inside the flowers or pots. They enter and then start feeding on them. But the actual GM, you will see the Maruca just on the either leaves or pod. They're just inactive. So we said that means the Maruca cannot be able to eat the GM crop. Even if they try to suck it, they will not eat it. The BT cowpea has 3 things which are very important to us. Number 1, if you can be able to plant this GM crop, I'm telling you, what you will harvest, you will be very surprised, because disease will not affect it, insect will not affect it. So in terms of increase in yield, definitely you will get at least 80 to 90% yield increase compared to non-GM. And then health-wise, you know, with the non-transgenic, sometimes we spray up to 5 to 6 times, trying to drive away the insect from destroying the cowpea. But with the GM, I'm telling you, if you are able to get 2 sprays, 2 correct sprays at the right time, you will clear away the insects and you will get your cowpea.
Local cowpea farmers in Kano have been part of the activities here and they share their testimonies. They say the BT cowpea has effectively resisted the Maruca, while the conventional variety has been badly damaged by the pest.
Is the simple working for them, but only 2 sprays is enough for them, because the local one, I do the 2 to 4, 5 sprays. So this one is the simple variety for the farmers, because it's the simple working for them.
Gaskiya akwai bambanci tsakanin wannan waken da namu na gida, saboda shi wannan koda a cikin lokaci aka shuka shi ƙwararre yana saurin yi ba kamar namu na gida ba.
Shi wannan BT cowpea, abinda zan ce a kansa, yana da matukar kyau saboda yana da 'ya'ya sosai, kuma Maruca ba ta lalata shi kamar yadda take lalata mana wannan local.
scientists expect the adoption of the BT cowpea variety in Nigeria to improve nutrition and food security for not less than 8 million farmers and their families. This is in addition to enjoying better health, environment and improved incomes. The variety is also expected to impact the country's gross domestic product more than the conventional cowpea variety. At this point, we take a quick break. Please stay with us. The Cowpea trial site we saw earlier on the program was managed by the Ahmadu Bello University's Institute for Agricultural Research. And next we join the project trial manager, Mohammed Umar, as he tells us about the BT Cowpea research in Nigeria.
And for the last few years, we conducted several confined field trial. The efficacy testing, we identified some lines, and after identifying those lines, we set up a kind of integration kind of program. So we transfer the gene, that is, we integrate the genes into the farmer's preferred variety, and those materials were also identified, which are having kind of resistance to these spot-borne insects. And the identified lines, they were now also sent to multi-location trials in 3 locations. That's Zaria, Bakura in Zamfara State, and then Minjibir in Kano State. Those performed also excellently. And we also give those materials now to farmers to test it on their own to see how they are performing. From our own side, the materials were excellent because we realized about 4-fold yield increase, meaning that about 4 times higher in terms of yield compared to the conventional one. So having seen that one from our side, the scientists part, we now give it to farmers to test it. So they tested for the, almost 2 years. 3 entries were given to each farmer, or 6 farmers in each location. So a total of 18 different farmers across the 3 locations, Zaria, Minjibir, and Bakura. So each farmer was given 3 entries. The one which is a proposed varieties to be released, which is transgenic, and the other 2, they are conventional. One of the conventional is the most recently released variety. So we use it as yardstick in terms of yield and also other improved traits. The other one is also an improved, but it's released for a very long time, and farmers also used to grow that kind of variety. We invited farmers to test it under their own practices. The way they are also managing conventional materials, let them also come and do it. The only difference between this kind of farmer managed trial from the other conventional testing is that this one we restrict the number of spraying. In their own farm, they used to spray from 5 to 8 times. But in our own case, we say no, we need only 2 sprays so that they can only control other insects, but not that of Maruca. Because Maruca used to come at the onset of flowering throughout the remaining life cycle of the crop, that is up to maturity. So we ask them to spray only 2 times. But all other agronomic practices, they will do it the way they are conducting their conventional cropping with other conventional varieties. Using conventional materials under farmers' management, sometimes what they are obtaining is less than 1 ton per hectare, less than 1 ton. Some they are even getting like 600 kgs, 500 kgs in their own conventional varieties, the local varieties they used to grow. And then with some improves, they can get up to 1 ton per hectare, with maybe 1.2 ton per hectare. But based on the trial we conducted, we realized that you can get up to 2.2 to 2.5 tons per hectare with these new entries. Why? Because the insects that is also causing damage, and that damage is reducing the yield because the quality of the seed is reduced. So it's reducing the yield of those the materials that are being developed. So those factors that are reducing the yield, they are now reduced. And in terms of maybe the gain or the income that farmers will generate is that if we look at it, we see that the number of spray is reduced from 8 times to only 2 times. And then the cost of insecticide, think of the insecticide, 1 liter is about 2,500 naira per liter. And you need minimum of 1 to 1.5 or 2 liters per hectare and spray 8 times. Because this one you spread only 2 times. So at least the cost of the labor, that's cost of application, cost of the insecticide is reduced. And also, without even those kind of spray, the yield difference is about 4 times higher than the conventional one they are growing. And the quality of the grains is also incomparable. Because in terms of damage, we realized that the damage recorded on the conventional one was about 60, 70, up to 80. In severe infestation, up to 100% damage by this maruca. But in this one, we recorded even 0 damage. So it's a great achievement. If we take a simple analogy, for example, farmers used to get less than 1 ton per hectare. So let's even assume they will get 1 ton per hectare. And with that 1 ton, they spray an insecticide of, let's say, 2 liters times 8, about 16 liters per hectare. So you multiply 2,500 naira times 16. And then with this our new variety, you spray only 4 liters. So if you minus 6 liters, for example, 16 liters minus 4 liters, how much will you get? You get the difference of how many liters? About 12 different liters differences. And if you could recall, some years back, EU banned the importation of cowpea from Nigeria because of the high frequency of insecticide application, which was tested to about 11%, while their limit is 0.2%, and ours reaches up to 11%. So with only 2 spray now, you realize a difference of 12 liters per hectare. So multiply 2,500 naira times 12. That's the difference in terms of the cost. And then the cost of application. At every hectare, maybe you may spend a minimum of, at every spray, you may spend a minimum of, let's say, 1,000 naira, for example. So 1,000 naira times 8 again, then plus the cost of the insecticide. And then this is the cost. There is also reduction in the yield. So if you merge all this, you realize that this guy gets 1 ton per hectare. If you are selling a sack, that's 100 kg at, let's say, 20,000 naira per 100 kg. If you multiply the 20,000 naira times 100, you get about 200,000, isn't it? Yeah. So this is, and then this 200,000 naira, you now multiply by 2, because that will get minimum of, let's say, 20 bucks. That's at least 1 ton. So if you get that one, that's 200 kg, sorry, 2,000 kg, and that one farmer get 1,000 kg. You get a difference in terms of production, or gain, about half of what the farmers, what we get. Farmers will get half of it. That's if you get 200,000 naira for the farmers manage, and with this new one, you get about 200 kg. So you get about 400,000 naira. So imagine about 200,000 difference between the conventional one and the new introduced variety. So it's a huge difference. We have done all the necessary research that is supposed to be conducted. It's because anything that comes new, people used to, at the first stage, they used to reject it. I could recall when the fertilizer was introduced in this country. I know a community in Nigeria, when the fertilizer was dumped there, the people refused to come. So that fertilizer, it even spoiled the water table in that area. Up to today, I know the community where the water there is not drinkable. It becomes hard. So this technology is new. So we are taking steps to ensure the safety of the food and safety of the feed and also the environment. So all the necessary research or experiment that will be conducted to ensure this kind of safety compliance, we conducted it. We did the non-target organism studies to ensure that this gene has no effect on the non-target organisms. So also we conducted a kind of gene flow study to ensure that there is no, a kind of unintended marriage between the transgenic and non-transgenic. So seed density trial, we conducted it, and we got a positive result. So this one is to address the concern of some farmers, also some so-called environmentalists, that they say there is a concern of becoming a super weed if there is an intended marriage between the transgenic and non-transgenic. So we conducted a trial for almost 4 years, consecutive years, uninterrupted. We realized a kind of positive result. That concern that it has no negative impact on the environment in terms of that. So also with non-target organism too, we have done so. And we also did a kind of insecticide frequency, spray, optimum spray frequency determination. That is to know how many sprays is profitable. With our new varieties, if you spray more than 2, you're just wasting your money, because the yield has increased the number of spray after 2. You realize that the yield is spray 5 times with 2 times, there's no difference. So we have done all this. And also for the food and feed safety testing, which was also being conducted. And we got a very positive result that this gene has no effect in terms of, it has no influence in either the quality or the quantity of the proteins in this cowpea. So it's just like a normal cowpea. And even physically, if you see, there's no difference. In terms of the color, the texture, and what have you, there's no difference. The only additional difference is that the gene that is carried, which is Cry1AB, which is conferred resistant to this insect. That is the additional advantage this material has over the other conventional materials. We had a kind of a meeting last year. We call it Seeing is Believing. So we invited farmers that are not participating in the trial. So we invited them to come and see and give us their perception. How does it look at it? So majority of the farmers, if I can not say all, they all show their interest with that variety, the candidate variety that we are working on or we worked on. So they show their interest. They are even anxious to get it, because when we took them to Minjibur side, that's what we call the striga. It's a witch wheat, which is also limiting the productivity of cowpea. Interestingly, the materials we are developing, which is the transgenic one, it has a kind of resistance to striga at the background. So they saw the conventional one, striga, attack it and make it stunted in terms of growth. But the same plot, the transgenic one is growing without striga, this parasitic weed that is also limiting the growth development of the plant. So that's what also makes it to be more interesting. And another thing is also early maturing. So we can call it like a smart product where it can fit the environmental challenges. Because last year and last 2 years, 2016 and 2017, we experienced a kind of early cessation of rain. With all that, the materials performed excellently in Zamfara and Kano in particular. We took the white-seeded now as the first step to see how it will perform. And those one, we generated some generation. When this one has gone through in terms of food and feed safety and also commercialized, it was deregulated, then we now bring on the other products that are on the pipelines. We have a brown seeded, brown large seeded, we have brown small seeded. They will all come with all different qualities, and that will suit different agroecologies in the country. If you go to the cowpea growing area in the country, the northeast, they prefer brown seeded. So also the the northwest and some north central, they prefer white seeded. Yeah, but the eastern part of the country also prefer brown one. That's why we keep the brown one also on the pipeline. So when we release this, then that one will also follow.
And that brings us to the end of today's program. Send your emails to agribiotech1@yahoo.com. Send us tweets at agribiotech13 or post comments on the Facebook page Agribiotech on TVC. I am Lara Folayo. Goodbye.